Blog Talk Radio.
Podcast. I'm Chris Shank, and I apologise that I hadn't changed the show settings. Somebody had jokingly, I believe, gone into our show and changed our thing because they wanted to feel like they were special, so they could make this sound. Oh, look at that! We are pro.
Nice.
Absolutely pro.
Oh.
How do you like that intro song, Tom?
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Where'd you get that?
It's by a guy called Ozd. Does free to download chip tunes, which you can download at ozd.net. I believe that was is actually off of his project, if you will. And that was the Shell Shock Shake from his new project, which is Project 8-Bit Run and Pun.
Ooh.
But he's released 3 albums. They're all very good. I always use his music. My kids have forgotten cuddles for me. Why are you coming down to cuddle me at 9 o'clock after playing on your tablet for the last hour and a half, eh? Mind you, you were playing Sonic 2, so that's okay. Go on then, off you go. Night night. So, tonight I will be drinking Badger Golden Champion, Tom. I've got a little drink. I'm going to do a little bit about a drink every time because that's what I do.
Okay.
It's a golden ale.
Alright.
It's really easy. And it's a 5% volume, 500ml, so although it's a golden ale, it's quite heavy.
Okay. Has it got kind of like quite a sweet aftertaste, or is it?
Oh, it's very light. Oh, you want a juice? You want a juice? I can't sort you out, mate. I'm live. I'm live. Live on the air. Me, Chris Shank, and my children.
You're neglecting your children live on the air.
I'm neglecting my children live on the air. That's right.
Go get the kids a juice. I'll carry this thing.
You talk about music, or why my wife's on the couch, and I'll get the juice.
Are you actually leaving me on the podcast? Jesus.
I'm going to be in the shed. I'll see you in a minute. I'll be back.
Right, okay.
Oh, you're up now. Okay. She's shamed into getting up. My wife has a torn muscle in her stomach to the point in her hip, where to the point where if she tears it anymore, it's actually going to need stitching back together.
Oh man.
You can imagine the amount of pain.
I was gonna do a little section on Tech TI-99, but that's okay. Yeah. Oh wow.
I know. I won't tell you how we did it, but this sound should give you an idea.
Oh god.
See, I've got sound effects and everything like that. Oi, guys, chill. There you go. Right, so this week, amongst the chaos that is my home, normally my kids are in bed 2 hours ago, but with the cops going back and everything else, they're just wide open. So this week, we are going to be talking about collecting. More specifically, how to collect on a budget, which is what I do. I have about a limited budget, shall we say, of generally a maximum of £20 a week. Maximum. So some weeks it'll be nothing. Like this week I spent nothing. I did do a trade this week. Which will be coming up on my YouTube channel.
Ooh.
But it's nothing major. It was 2 Xbox 360 games which I picked up cheap, which I then traded for a PS3 and an Xbox game. Original Xbox, of course. Total Overdose. I got Total Overdose on original Xbox.
Wow.
And Kane Ninja 2. In exchange for, which I'm going to put in my bag now because I need to post them tomorrow. Oh, if I can find them. No, I can't. Oh, here we are. Dungeon Siege 3 and Hunted the Demon's Forge. Which I picked those up for £1.50, which ties in to what we're talking about this week. Before we do that, welcome to my co-host, the man with the golden flaxen hair, which is more beautiful than this ale I'm drinking, Tom Brahilia. How are you doing, buddy?
Right on, brother. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
How
I've been, it's not been too bad. I finally got around to hooking up, like, my surround sound in my room, so my video games are coming through sweet. What else have I been doing? I've been playing a shit ton of Final Fantasy 12, in contrast to 10 coming out. As much as I think that is cool, and I haven't had a chance to pick it up yet.
Which is what I've been playing, ironically. I've been playing 10. I refuse to look at 10 too. But what struck me most about 10 is you get a little FMV of like what happens after 10, between 10 and 2, I suppose.
Oh, what is it like previously on Final Fantasy? Yeah,
so that Riku comes and like she shows him like this bit of Machina, which has a recording of Titus on it, and then just for watching that, like a 15-minute thing, which I would have watched anyway because it was really interesting. I got a silver achievement on PlayStation, and I was like, really?
So they just shoehorned in one big fat retcon to tie the games together, and you got a trophy for sitting through it.
Yeah.
Good times. Yeah, sorry if I sound like a 90-year-old smoker today, but I've got a bit of a chest infection, so I'm going to soldier on. But yeah, I've been playing 12. I'm hoping to do that, which I think I ranted to you about on Twitter at some point this week.
That'll be next.
I hope so. I mean, I don't know. There was a lot of problems with that game. Like, is it Matsuno chipped off about halfway through.
Was that an achievement for turning your PlayStation on?
Yeah, it was literally. I got an achievement for watching a movie in the game. Not just a bronze, which is like the basic achievement, but a silver. And the funny thing is, I've been playing through Final Fantasy X since then. I've only played like the first half an hour. Or like maybe...
Not even quite that.
No, I have, but I've not got a single achievement since then. But hey, watch a movie and you get an achievement. I was like, Jesus.
Yeah, it's like, here's a trophy for eating up this bullshit.
There is an extra battle that you can do as well for Final Fantasy X too.
Oh, okay.
I've noticed, but I don't plan to touch it very much.
Yeah, that's cool.
I still haven't played 13 too, which I've got.
Yeah, I've got it. I haven't really played through too much of it. You probably don't really want to at this point.
And I've got the DS game as well, Lightning's Return, is it?
The DS game?
Mm.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll find out something about it for you. I'm pretty sure it's Lightning Returns or something like that.
Lightning Returns just come out on 360 and PS3. I don't know about the DS.
No. Is it a 12 game maybe?
Revenant Wings?
That's it, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, Revenant Wings,
Apologies.
Yeah. There's a couple of spin-offs of 12. There was like Revenant Wings, and in the Game Boy, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, like both like the Sky Pirate from 12 is in it and shit. I was reading about 12 the other day. It's quite interesting, actually. Like, the original guy that was working on it, Matsuno, had, like, a completely different concept for the story. Like, it wasn't about two fucking, like, kind of kid characters that the story's kind of centered around. They didn't really exist. It was about, like, this kind of grizzled war veteran who is in the game called Bosch. And it's all basically about him and this other Sky Pirate called Balfiera. And, like, the original script just looked so good and, like, just so much more interesting. Like, and maybe it could have kind of steered Final Fantasy in a much more sort of
Final Fantasy,
sensible.
well, the one major one in the series that I haven't played. I'm talking. I've played 14 and 11 as well.
Wow.
So
I'd give it a go. Honestly, it's one of my favourites.
I've got it. It's PS2. It's like end of life cycle PS2.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a gorgeous looking game.
Ah, cool. Okay. Well, who knows? Maybe we'll give it a go. Of course, this is every Final Fantasy game has this, doesn't it? As soon as you hear that sound, you know you're into the meat and the potatoes of the game.
Yes. At least I think so. Maybe not 13. Do you know what? I'm glad Lightning Returns is out now, because maybe they can actually ditch this whole 13 thing and actually get back to...
the on-rails RPG that is 13.
Yeah.
I got really frustrated with it, but I did see it through to the bit where it opens out suddenly and you can run around a map and stuff like that. But that's like chapter 12 or chapter 13 or something.
Yeah.
And then you go straight back into on-rails.
It's like a 40-hour corridor, and it's like, this is my fucking payoff, really. I know 13.2 is a lot more open, and Lightning Returns is pretty much near enough open-ish, sort of.
They need to learn, because...
I've lost interest, man.
Final Fantasy VII was on rails, but it didn't have to be, There were points... It
was, but that opening section of Midgar was so good.
Yeah, that's right.
So good, and once you got to the world map, it wasn't on rails anymore. There was a story if you wanted to follow it.
Crisis Core, because that was quite on rails, but because you had the Final Fantasy VII backdrop and the Advent Children backdrop, that you really enjoyed that more.
Yeah, definitely. That was a good game.
The Midgar setting to me in Crisis Core is amazing. Just opens up so much. It shows Midgar a higher definition than Final Fantasy VII, and really is kind of a payoff to fans, really, that we never got a HD remake of 7.
Yeah, for sure. I do love Midgar. It's just such a cool setting.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but first time playing through 7, when you eventually get out of Midgar, and you get onto the world map and see the vista open up or whatever, that shit blew my mind.
After the epic motorcycle race.
Oh, yeah, man, because I was like 12 or something at the time. I hadn't played an RPG before, and I didn't see that coming. I wasn't thinking, okay, where's the world map? I didn't know what a world map was, so that was that blew my shit.
You had to go to after being in Mac City, you had to go to the tiniest little poxy village in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's like medieval town. Straight back to the fantasy setting.
Absolutely. And it is a mishmash, isn't it, really, the Final Fantasy VII world?
Sure, yeah.
Kids still playing up. Right, so this week, collected. So Final Fantasy, we'll talk about Final Fantasy and RPG specifically, actually, on this episode, because this episode's really about how best to get your collecting out on a budget. I've really only been collecting retro for a year. How about you?
I started about 2006.
And you have some real quirky stuff. Now, collecting goes through these stages. Do you know what I mean? Where you have, so the first stage is where you pick up everything, you know, like hundreds of PS2 games, you know, that you're never even going to play, you know, 7 different versions of Burnout. You know, 6 different versions of Dynasty Warriors. And all this crap that, if you're being brutally honest with yourself, you're never going to pay.
Yeah.
And you'll collect anything and everything, as long as it's just below market value. How do you? Here's a good starting question. How do you calculate what market value is?
Yeah. Beats my Parajacks. I mean, that's a good question. It changes so much. I don't know who determines the market value of these things. I think it's just kind of like a collective thing that kind of, which is sort of up and down. I mean, when I first started out, like I was actually saying this to like I think I was talking to my mum about it the other day. So when I first started collecting, like retro sort of collecting wasn't really a thing. Like retro wasn't in vogue. Like you see now, like every indie game that comes out is kind of featured, sort of centered around like these like 16-bit or 8-bit graphics and stuff.
That's right, yeah.
Everybody thinks that everything old is worth money and has this kind of like historical value. But back then, when I started doing it, like it hasn't really caught on yet. Like I could get a Dreamcast for $10. It's like you could find a Dreamcast.
I was saying that about the last one, 30 quid with games, and I was now, Jesus, was you?
Yeah. Oh, totally, man. I mean, I got like a box of Atari 2600 cartridges. Like I'm talking a box with about 30 fucking games in for about 15 quid. Like, I checked eBay the other day. I hadn't really been on for a while, and I just typed it in for, like, a joke and sort of sort by lowest first or whatever. Like, every single cartridge was, like, £2 with, like, sort of £4 shipping. It was ludicrous. It's like, wow. Like,
yeah, it's very, very strange how it's come around, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I remember I took my NES to uni with me, and I played it through a TV card in my PC. I didn't have a TV license, didn't have a TV, so I didn't take a TV there. Yeah, I know. So about it.
Yeah, it's a good way of doing it.
So yeah, playing my NES in halls, and it was just on the cusp. So this would have been 2002, and people were just sort of starting to pick up on like that 8-bit kind of thing at the time, you know, and the Ataris and stuff. And the SNES has always been people have always loved the SNES. It's the one that always holds the most value. But I think at the moment we're actually kind of in the middle of a peak, you know, and I'm kind of thinking that there's going to be a fall soon, you know.
I think we are. To be honest, like whenever you sort of ask every week, like, what have you picked up, what have you found? Like each week it becomes significantly less and less.
Yeah.
Because you know it's not the same as it was when I first started out. I mean, I used to get bundles and big boxes of crap for next to nothing, and it is getting harder and harder, especially with the way like
more people used to give away more and more, but now with the internet, they're looking on eBay and they're seeing what they can get for it, and
yeah.
You know, it's real like one click away kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not like to say that like it's fucked, like you can't find deals anymore, because you can. Like you can find loads of great stuff out in the world.
It wasn't that long ago that London didn't even have any retro shops until Retro Game Base opened up over there.
Yeah.
You know, so for London, the capital, not to have anything, kind of a big deal, really. You know, and
yeah, I mean they've
only been around 5 or 6 years now. Not a huge time.
But that's still like an amazing amount of like sustainability in that kind of market. I mean, do you remember that shop about that opened to me in Cambridge?
Yeah.
Like 2 months that lasted. When they're like about a week or two back.
So I remember in Cambridge, the real shop to go to for video games was an independent one down the side of the Grafton Centre called Metron or Metatron or Megatron maybe.
Yeah, I know the shop.
Is it still there?
No, he's gone. I managed to get a couple of Super Famicom cartridges off him before he got. I got.
They always did. I remember that they always did the retro stuff. You know?
Yeah. All kinds of cool stuff in there.
It's kind of a weird one. The real thing is, for me, for collecting, is you've got to try and get it as cheap as possible, and you've got to pick your spots. And if you go to a car boot to pick stuff up, don't be afraid to walk away with nothing. Don't say, I've got to get something, you know. I think last week I picked up those two Xbox 360 games, a DS Guitar Hero thing. I wanted it for a while anyway, but it was only £2.
Wow.
I'm trying to think what else. There was something else which I got. I think it was a PS3 game, but I can't remember now. It's on my last pickup video. Anyway, I only spent £6.
Okay.
Which was fine. But in return now, I don't collect for Xbox 360, but because I knew they'd be great for it because they're RPGs, Dungeon Siege 3 and the Demon's Forge has got me the Xbox original game and the PS3 game through a trade with a guy called 17 Ninjas and a Baseball Bat. Expect a video to him when I get the trade soon.
Yeah, that is the most awesome name ever. Do you find that actually that like kind of sometimes the genre of the game?
Oh yeah, man. You know, if you see a cheap RPG, pick it up. Because even if you don't like RPGs, if you're not collecting from, someone will. And they, especially the JRPGs, Japanese ones, they will lap that shit up. You know. Yeah,
for sure. I always like
Blue Dragon.
I'd recommend people
360.
Yeah, that was a good one. I recommend people pick up Atlas games for resale, every time.
You know,
they always hold the value.
Yeah,
if you're into that kind of thing, anyway.
Zelda's really obvious as far as like action adventure / RPG type things go. Yeah, you know, they're always going to sell well. But seriously, look at them and look on the back of. If you don't recognise the game, look on the back, and if it says a unique role playing, blah 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 blah, someone will love that, and someone will spend money on that. You look at
anything with Square Enix on it.
Yeah, or the Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim. I'm trying to think the name of that series now.
The Elder Scrolls?
Elder Scrolls series, yeah. Anything Elder Scrolls will sell. In fact, I picked up Morrowind the other week for £8 in CX, which was cheap.
Yeah. I remember trying to find a Morrowind for Xbox Game of the Year edition. This was quite like 4 or 5 years ago, and I still ended up paying about sort of £20 for it.
Yeah, it's still the same now. It's £25 now.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like what the hell is that? Twin Snakes on GameCube. That's a tough one to find. I hate that game, but it's a tough one to find.
£35 to £40. They a couple of the vendors at Play Expo had it for £40 last year, and so what a buddy of mine did, Daz, is he bought a £30 version, and I gave him a freeloader disc because it was an NTSC version.
Nice.
So, but going back to market value, the way that I determine market value is, and this isn't how I do bundle deals. I'll talk about bundle deals in a minute. How I do market value is the median price of sold listings on eBay, and get rid of anything that's off the charts, like £500 for Mario 1, for example. So sort of if it goes for between £2 to £6, closer to the £6 mark, then it's probably a £4 game, £4.50 game. You know, so that's how much I'll be willing to pay, because that's its market value. However, I'll always lowball and go in £1 to £2 lower than that. because then I know I'm getting a good deal. I can resell it if I need to like get something else. So for those RPGs, for example, their trading value at CEX is one is £3 and the other's £4. So I knew I could take those to CEX. But as it happens, this guy had a couple of games I wanted. I didn't necessarily get a fantastic deal on the 2 games, but I know I'm helping him out a bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, the biggest way that I've increased stuff is through my wife's birthday. My daughter's trying to nick her chocolates.
Oh, nice.
She didn't eat her dinner. Dinner was pizza, man. Come on, who doesn't eat pizza?
Yeah.
She's still got away with the chocolate. Anyway.
Oh dear. Going back to something you said earlier about like when you first start out or whatever.
Yeah. So when I first started out, I was picking up everything, and I kind of said I want to get Master System stuff, but I never stuck to it. That was my biggest downfall.
Yeah.
So I trimmed back about 3-4 months ago, sold a whole bunch off for a couple of £100. Mega Drive, Master System, N64 stuff, loads and loads of stuff that just wasn't playing. Loads of PS1, all my PS2. You're talking 100 PS2 games.
Yowza.
Some I kept, like the Final Fantasy 12, a few others which I know I could sell on better for a lower price or whatever. But what I did do was I kept the PS1 stuff because I know the PS1 can play on the PS3 in space and fine. And I kept the Game Boy stuff and the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy Advance.
Smart move.
Yeah, because it's low space, it's easy to do. I got my Game Boy, which is a NES GBA SP, so that kind of decal one, which is really nice.
Yeah, those are cool.
It's scratched to blazes on the outside, but it looks fantastic on the inside, and it's a present from my wife as well. So I wanted to keep
trusty clamshell design, man.
Yeah, clamshell, amazing. Love the S piece. And I sat down and I said, right, what am I going to do? So last year, up until Christmas, really focused on Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color. And I said, right, for New Year, I want to get a PSP. And I got one fairly quick, like January time, for £30.
Okay.
With 4 games, and then I bought a couple of other games off them. And for me, PSP games now are really cheap to buy. They're whatever game it is, people will say £2 for a game. You know, and so you can pick up some really good titles on there. Crisis Core, for a couple of quid, yada yada. Dissidia, a couple of quid. Doesn't matter. So
the PSP's got some great games.
Yeah, it's got some amazing games. You know, unlike the Game Boy, which had a lot of ports, the PSP is equivalent to a PS2. Would you say, like in terms of graphical ability? Yeah,
I'd say something along those lines. But the PSP was home to a shit ton of ports as well.
Yeah, loads of stuff on there, really good stuff. But I'm collecting stuff on there specifically that I can't get, or are very, very good ports. Like the WWE versus SmackDown are all amazing ports on the PSP. Yeah, just unreal. And I tell you what, those games, they go regularly for £5 to £6 on eBay.
Okay.
For those PSP, that WWE versus SmackDown. So I always now pick up PSP games, and I've got about 17 so far since I bought that in January. Really easy to pick up this year. Hadn't seen much of them last year, but I knew with the PS Vita coming out, people would be getting rid of collections and stuff like that. So that's my first real tip, is time your collection if you can. If you're collecting a NES or whatever, fine. You're not going to be able to time it. But similarly, you know that you're not going to be able to find a lot of that at car boots and stuff like that. I've come across NES games that aren't obvious resellers, stockists, whatever, once. And I only came across them because I was the first person to see them when they came out the car. How much are these 50 each? Take all 4.
Nice.
But if I had been a split second later, the reseller who was sitting on the other side would have seen those coming out, those little grey cartridges, and banged them up themselves.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
timing's kind of key.
Oh, definitely. Actually, that is I did pick up something recently. I've got 3 Layton games, DS, for a tenner.
Oh.
That's a pretty good deal.
Professor Layton.
Yeah.
Very good. The kind of point-and-click adventure type games.
Yeah, they're kind of like cutesy, Victorian-style, whimsical, puzzly games. Good.
There's so the PSP stuff was really all about timing the collection, because I knew that this usually, this is a good time. The same as this a really good time for PS2 actually this year. Last year they were this year they're even cheaper. They're like 50p a game now.
Jesus.
The same with PS3 and Xbox 360. I'm starting to see the game deals. Some people are still sticking to either a game, but a couple of them, like those two, they were like, oh, they're £2 each, the Xbox 360 games. And Daddy's doing his thing. I got the pair for £3 in the end.
That does happen though, it's like the equivalent of seeing...
But it happens commonly, is what I'm saying. It's happened for the last 3 weeks, Kabu, not this, obviously, but before that.
Okay.
So... This is now a new year and people are thinking of it. PS4 and Xbox One are out, and that's a great bargaining tool as well. You'll buy an Xbox original games, which I am this year specifically. So this year, I'm getting Game Boy stuff, but I'm also getting PS1, Xbox, and PSP, PS3. So I've got a good variety in that, and I know I can always kind of get something. Because it covers various generations. It's not to say I won't pick up the really old stuff if I think I can trade them like I have before.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of found that sort of throughout the whole sort of time of kind of doing this, it's just sort of set very specific goals and just kind of picked some. Try to get all the best kind of stuff that I can
get. The Virtual Boy or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It's like I'll try and get kind of all the best sort of stuff that I can get for it without paying stupid money, and then I kind of move on. Like now, for whatever reason, I checked out of collecting for quite a long time, just due to kind of budget issues, really. But sort of coming back into it, I've actually started thinking about doing old computers, and I told you about this earlier on. I've actually been bidding on. Right, I won't say what it is. I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want to break the embargo on this one. Because
you're talking about Dragon 32 here.
No, I'm not talking about Dragon 32. I wish I was actually. I wish I was talking about Dragon 32. Yeah. It's just as epic though. Like,
that's
if
something
I do get,
that I want.
Yeah. I've been looking at them lately actually. But if I do get it, then I will definitely talk about it. And if I don't get it, I'll definitely talk about it.
There's
at the moment, I'm going to stay silent.
There's some really cool micro deal games on the Dragon 32. Oh my.
Yeah. God. Jesus, man.
It's home life, mate. Never have kids.
Yeah. I can't. I've got too many video games.
Buy games instead. Don't have kids. This is normally it's me up there dealing with it, but because doing this. And it's poorly timed because of normally they're asleep by this point, but obviously with the time changing and all that kind of jazz.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. This is the sound I made, actually, when playing from Final Fantasy.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, do you know what? Like, one of the best deals I ever got, arguably people would call me crazy, and they would be right, but it was the first time I started collecting for CDI. For whatever reason, like the first time I started getting into sort of collecting games, I remember I'd sit around watching these videos on YouTube about the worst video game consoles, and I'd look at them and just be like, you know, fucking Atari Jaguar and shit like that, and I'd just be like, oh,
Jag's not bad, man.
yeah, but you watch those videos, those are the ones that come up in the list, you know, and it's like, I'd be looking at those and just thinking, why would I own any of those systems? Based on that first video I watched of the 10 worst systems, I own all of those now. I just have this affinity for collectors, well, what other people kind of think are shitty things, but I find them interesting. Like, they have historical value and they're good conversation pieces, if nothing else.
I think
but
the CDI has less than 5 good games on it, doesn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, no, I got them all. This is the thing. Like, I managed to get this, and it started off cheap, but it went up to around...
Right, you carry on that story. I'm going to see if I can calm things down. Hold on.
Okay, no problem. Right, okay. Well, anyway, it went up to around £100 or so, and I ended up getting about 50 to 60 games, which is pretty much every single game for the system, a shit ton of these crappy educational software games, and a load of video CD discs. But the interesting thing about it was what came with it was like all these. There was like a big stack of like CDI magazines, like pretty much every single issue from the first issue, which is in like it was in like really really good condition. Most of them were, apart from one that had like Sade on the cover or some bullshit. But like it had every single issue from the first one all the way through to the last one, and like. The first issue was, it's funny because the first issue was like really optimistic. It's like, this is the future, compact disc interactive, blah, 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 blah. And by the time you get to issue 30 or issue like 35, wherever it ended, it's like the editor has just like basically given up on life as well as the CDI because he's just like, nothing coming out, blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, it's depressing. Very fun today.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's my son had bad dreams last night about zombies.
Oh wow.
Yeah, 5. That's pretty good.
Yeah, sure.
So he's all right anyway. So CDI. So you what are the 5 best games on CDI?
I've just told the full story. If we had any listeners, I'm sure they're gone now. But the 5 best games on CDI, I'm not really sure because at the minute actually. To break another embargo, I'm actually doing another series of videos. Based the new I'm doing called CDI Friday, which
Friday.
I'm trying to release videos every consecutive Friday, where I just basically like pick a disc out of this massive crap that I have. And we'll play through it and talk about it and try and pick something good out of it and something, well, I'd highlight the many shitty things about the games. But there are actually some really good games on that thing. I found some kind of interesting sort of point-and-click games on there. There's some FMV games. Some of them are good. The game Burn Cycle is quite a good FMV game, actually. Seventh Guest as well. It's another decent one. The Zelda games suck balls. The Hotel Mario games, all right. It's pretty good. There are some other ones, but I'll save them for the shitty feature that I'll do that nobody will watch.
I'll watch it.
Thanks, Chris.
I'll watch all your shit.
Thanks, dude. But yeah, I'm actually, that's the thing I'm on at the moment is definitely old computers for whatever reason. I'm just, I got an power supply for my Amiga 500 today, so I'm very happy about that because I couldn't find my other one, which sucked balls.
Fair enough. The thing about your CDI was, if I recall correctly, you got a bunch of CDI stuff in a bundle.
Yeah, it all came together in the system. I just said about sort of getting about 60 games, a shit ton of educational discs and VCDs, and a big stack of magazines, including the first issue, which is pretty cool. There's an interview with Dominic Diamond, and he's talking about how much the CDI sucks.
So, the key word there, of course, was bundle. In that, if you have a little bit more money, say I went there with the 20 quid, and someone had an Xbox with 20 games. Now, I have an original Xbox, so I have to know if I'm bothered to resell that Xbox, which I could get £10 for by itself, maybe. Maybe a bit more. You have to be able to ship it, though, of course, so got to take that into account.
Yeah.
Some people won't want to pay £10 for an Xbox and then £10 postage on top, which is about what it is.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So then, you have to think of, okay, well, these 20 games then, are they worth it? Generally, I use the price of 50p a game. There would have to be something for Xbox and PS2. So there would have to be something there that stood out, like a Conkers, or maybe the Oddworld stuff.
Okay.
Is that on original Xbox that sort of boosted it up for me to buy that as a resale deal.
Yeah.
Or I would have to really want... Morrowind, the Game of the Year edition of Morrowind, that's a great example. If that was in there, I would buy it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's a seller.
If they were maybe £2 games, maybe not. Because that's a lot of crap that you're really not going to play. And it's if you keep on buying stuff and buying stuff and buying stuff and don't play it, you'll soon get bored of it.
Yeah.
Soon get bored of your collection.
I think the thing with me was I've got this kind of really retarded nostalgic view of the 90s and like this bizarre obsession with kind of like the fascination with like multimedia being a thing of the future at the time, and like everything being disc and wow, it's the 90s, it's the future, blah blah blah. And like I pay quite a lot for that bundle, but like if you're willing to pay out more, like it's kind of a cop out because it eliminates the thrill of the hunt. I had like an instant CDI collection. Like I had every single control pad for the fucking thing. I've got Mad Dog McCree in the big long box with the blue like revolver gun. Like every single game for the fucking system. Like a ton of dodgy CDs.
CDI, 3DO, Virtual Boy. You're not gonna even PC Engine and TurboGrafx. You're not gonna see these things at car boots.
No.
Not really. Even in retro shops, there'll be an oddity even in retro shops.
I did actually see I saw a Virtual Boy in Cambridge the other day, of all places. There's a new shop where Game Station used to be. Just this like some kind of weird subsidiary of Game, basically, that does like when you go in there, it's mostly tablets and phones for sale, and there's quite a lot of like second-hand games. But they had a Virtual Boy in a glass cabinet that somebody had brought in, and apparently it sold within 10 minutes. I asked the guy behind the counter, he was like, yeah, it was like literally 10 minutes, someone came in and bought it. It's like, fucking Jesus. Sorry, carry on.
It's oddities, though. You're going to have to go to places like eBay or, dare I say, retro shops, but they're going to have to be big retro shops to deal with oddities like that, the Wonder Swan, even Neo Geo stuff.
Yeah. You don't see it.
To be prepared to do that. Now, if you're collecting to collect, obviously, what I just said about, buying stuff doesn't count because you're collecting to collect. Collecting to fill up shelf space, to fill the hole in your soul. However, if you're collecting because you have you genuinely enjoy playing them, then you'll want to, spend time picking out the games more and more. Now, at this point, you need to decide: am I going to go full set? Am I going to want to spend £100, £200 on those sort of stupidly rare Master System games, like what was it, Smurfs 2, for example, which, let's be honest here, or Flintstones at Dinosaur's Peak. Are you going to go out there and spend £300-400 on that and Samson?
Yeah.
Or are you going to for yourself and play those games and go through them. Yeah, I'm not suggesting that everybody go out and be fucking Uber Collector 3000. What I'm saying is have goals. Do you want to get the games? If I had a NES, I would want to collect. These are terrible games apart from a couple. Mario and Mario 3. I would want RoboCop, Batman, Blades of Steel, Turtles, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, Bugs Bunny Birthday Blowout, and that would more or less be it, because that's what I enjoyed as a kid. I build from that, I borrowed games. I borrowed Mario 2 and I borrowed various others, but realistically, those 8 games, that would be where I start from. So be prepared to say, okay, now I've got those games, now I'm going to shelf that and maybe do something else, but set that goal. Don't just buy anything willy-nilly. Have a goal, otherwise you're not going to enjoy it, as frankly.
You don't have to do it all at once. You really don't. I just pick up stuff as and when for, different systems, maybe. Just concentrate on a few if you really have to, go all out. I mean, it just gets to the point where, I had this myself, especially with, quite a lot of moving around and stuff.
Yeah.
Your possessions kind of start possessing you a little bit, and it's okay, what
the things you
is going to start
you.
It's not to kind of start upsetting people or anything, because I think it's cool, because I mean I've had that kind of setup before. I don't really at the moment, because of where all my stuff is unpacked, but it's not on display. I don't have this kind of massive man cave or anything like that. But some people's game rooms, I see them online and things like that, and I look at those and just think, okay, I'm actually normal. As much stuff as I have, literally, people.
But you're not, because you've got a CDI.
Yeah, I know, okay, maybe I'm not that normal, but it's you just see, literally just these rooms with just shelves and shelves of hundreds of thousands of games that they have to do the video standing in front of course. They can't just be standing in front of a normal wall. It's it just gets to the point where I'm dude, do you even play these games? Or is it just I have to collect, I have to collect, I have to collect, I have to collect? I mean, I've been there, but it's I don't know, where do you stop? When does it get to the where
That's a good question. Where do you stop collecting?
Yeah.
We should preface this, because I've come under hot water before from saying stuff about collecting and stuff, but if you enjoy it, then more power to you and all that.
Yeah, sure, yeah, absolutely.
There was a video, and I'm not sure who did it, but I remember seeing Shock16 did a reply to it, and it asked, how much of a collector versus a gamer are you? And of course, being YouTube, you show more of your collecting side than you do your gaming side, because people enjoy that. They enjoy seeing it. And right here in front of me, I've got 2 Game Boy games and 6 Game Boy Advance games.
Yeah.
Each of these was in a much larger bundle, but the guy was willing to split down. This one I didn't hear in as Brucey. But if I look through them, they're all good, solid games. In fact, the beauty of it is Metroid Fusion on the Game Boy Advance.
Oh, such a good game.
Followed closely by Mario Party Advance. And then the rest are kind of take them or leave them, Tetris 2, Rayman Advance, Tetris Worlds, Pac-Man Collection, Spyro 2. But those games, I instantly knew what you were saying there with Metroid Fusion. Such a good game. That's a £10 game. Now, for these 18 games that you threw in a free golf as well on the Game Boy.
Nice.
I paid, I think it was the equivalent of £18, which is for 8 games probably £2.10 a game or something.
Okay.
Posted. So that's a good example of bundles working. Yeah, because if I take Metroid Prime and Mario Party Advance, that's £15 for the pair there, plus postage. I've already done it,
Okay.
Brucey's. So you can use those bundles to your advantage. But the point that I think that we're trying to get at, which we're stumbling around, is do what gives you fun.
Yeah.
Don't because you have a sense of needing to collect to show other people or whatever. And don't let your collection overtake you. Enjoy it. full system collectors, man, I love them.
Yeah.
Fun to look at. You know, you can pick out a game on the system and play it.
Yeah, those crazy sons of bitches. I love them.
In fact, there's a couple who I know have got full system, master system. Ninja Bear Hug Stew, and to UK's just done his. Ninja Bear Hug Stew minus what's the Lakers basketball game, which is really rare.
Oh,
Lakers versus Bulls. Minus one game. He's got a full set of Mega Drive as well, and I think it's pretty close to Game Gear. So there's a guy who loves his Sega.
God bless you, buddy.
And two, his collection's vast and huge as well. You know, there's no denying that. And they both love collecting. You know, you can tell that's what they love to do. Cool.
Yeah.
Fine. Do that. Enjoy it. Whatever. But for people who are just starting out, I think they can become very easily need to fill shelf syndrome. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not good, because you'll need to fill that shelf, and then you'll need to sell that shelf because you don't want that stuff in your collection, or maybe you will in the future. If it's bugging you to the point where you're thinking, why have I got all this stuff? Oh, I might want it there. Stick it in a box. Come back to it later, because you might come back and say, I want to get full set on this. And those 15 copies of FIFA that you bought on the Mega Drive may well come in handy.
My advice to anybody starting out would just be don't be shy about it. Let people know that you collect this stuff.
God, that's huge. That's a great tip. Yeah.
Maybe don't use it as a pickup line in bars or whatever, but that's basically how I started. I didn't have any systems. I checked out of video games probably around 2001, around the time the PS2 came out. I checked out for quite a few years. I don't know, I was a teenager. I guess I got into girls and drugs and all that kind of crap. But basically, yeah, boobies and drugs. But then later on, when I kind of got a bit more settled in, I think somebody brought me a Nintendo 64. As my brother brought me an N64 in a box that some dude had in his loft. He won it in a raffle and never fucking played the thing. And before I knew it, I had this N64 in a box with spare pad box as well with a ton of box games. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And a week later, somebody offered me an Xbox original, an original Xbox for 30 quid with a couple of games. And I was like, yeah, fuck it, why not? And they're a month after that, my brother bought me his old PS2. He was like, I don't want this anymore. I've got an Xbox now. You can take it. And then I just thought, maybe I could do this kind of stuff. I kind of enjoy playing these old games.
I
dragged out my Spectrum.
The retro game guy.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I dragged out my Spectrum, I dragged out my Amiga, I dragged out the Master System, and then I kind of got myself an eBay eventually, and just started looking for stuff kind of gradually, and then it sort of went a bit mad, like you said. You do kind of go for that period of just I'm going to buy everything. You do just kind of have to pick a goal and let people know that you collect, because you never know what someone might offer you for free or just next to nothing.
It's someone bought in for me at work a Master System 2, a NES, I can't remember what else, a few sorry
cough it up, man.
Other bits. And I traded it in for systems I want. I knew I didn't want NES. It's not a NES fan at all. Despite it being the first. I know. It's seen as the holy fucking grail of gaming and all this shit, Bob.
No, that's the other fun thing about collecting. You can collect whatever the fuck you want to.
Yeah. But I decided early on, so I think I traded it for a few bits. I mean, I got an Xbox, a GameCube, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And that was cool. That's what started it. I did eventually get rid of the GameCube. But I've now got my main thing is my PSP, my 3DS, which plays my DS, my Game Boy Advance SP, which plays GBA, GB Color, Game Boy, the PS3, which plays my PS1 games, and an original Xbox, and that's it.
Is that everything you got?
At the minute, yeah. I mean, I've had a Dreamcast, N64s. I've got a loose N64, just plain console. It's available for sale. I've got an Amiga, but it's away, and I've got an Atari ST, and it's away.
Okay. Nice.
But that's it, and I really want to cut down on the crap, and focus in.
Speaking of cutting down on the crap, I've actually got some stuff that I've been thinking of giving away as like prizes. If we can implement that somehow.
We can implement that, yeah.
For sure, yeah. I've got some pretty interesting shit I can.
You just you need to mail them to me, and I'll distribute accordingly.
Yes. How are we going to do this? Don't we have to ask some kind of a question, or?
What's the stuff there?
I've got all kinds of stuff lying around. I've got all kinds of stuff lying around. Some doubles of things, mostly.
Some what?
Just some doubles of things, first off.
Okay, well, next week, find out what those doubles are. We'll ask people to do some kind of submission, which you can do over Facebook to me or you.
Yeah.
Or email. In fact, we'll do an email. We'll do an email in a submission.
Yeah. Do we have a Facebook page or a Twitter yet? We
don't. No. I'm managing the Two Fat Bastards, my Facebook page, and I've got a normal Facebook page. And I think I'm an administrator on the. Yes, I am on the Retro Unlim network as well.
Oh,
so.
all right.
Maybe we could make you the administrator for this one.
Yeah, someone have to set one up. We'll do that. But interesting thing is, some people might not have the systems that some of these prizes may be for, which is cool because I've had before. I've ended up with like a few games for a system that I don't have, and it's encouraged me to go out and pick up the system.
What happened with my PSP? I was donated a bunch of stuff by a viewer called James, whose girlfriend works on my work as well. She bought me in 2 carrier bags worth of stuff, and 3 of the games were PSP games. They weren't anything big. It was Daxter, GTA, Libby Stories, and can't remember the third one, but I remember those 2. And the BBC Story one, instantly I wanted to play.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, right, cool. So now I need to get a PSP. That's where it came from, the New Year.
Yeah. Definitely. So yeah, prizes.
Prizes next week.
Prizes to be won.
I can't reiterate the enjoy yourself thing enough because I was this fucking close to not playing, not doing it around Christmas last year and just saying, oh fuck that. But now that I've got now that I've cancelled down and I'm enjoying it so much more, just so much more. It's hugely beneficial to have goals.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, you have to kind of be realistic and kind of, don't, like, work within a budget and work within, like, the limited confines of, like, space.
Trade, man. Trade fodder. Trade fodder is huge. If you've got this game that's like a £50 game. If you see it and it's like £5, buy it. Use it to trade. There's nothing wrong with trading, reselling, whatever. You're not a scalper sitting there with 100 games putting a 20% markup on top of eBay prices.
Yeah.
You're someone who's collecting, who's playing, who's enjoying the games as they should be.
Yeah.
And that's important, but games are there to be played.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's something that from time to time we all forget, and not just bookshelf pieces.
There's a lot of sharks in this market, man.
There is. That's a huge thing. You will come across every fucking week guys at the car boot barging it through and coming up to guys who are opening their boots. Any games, mobile phones, Pokemon? Every week the same guys, and then they go and set up their own store and put it on there for 10 times the cost. Literally, 2 weeks ago, I was just about to pick up Discworld on the PS1 for £1. Literally. And the guy the next stall over picked it up, paid £1. Within 5 minutes, he'd sold it for 10.
What a dickhole. That's just business, man.
Yeah, there's nothing I can do about that. You know, there's no hard feelings. It was just hard luck. But you've got to be persistent with that shit. You've got to keep on going. You've got to deal with that. And go to charity shops. Do that. It's so...
Yeah, they're still shopping the way forward. You
will hit nothing all day, and then the same time next week, you'll do it again. One guy who I know who collects actually gave a card over. He gave his personal business card because he runs his own business to a couple of charity shops, and he said, look, if you get anything, tell me, I'll come and buy it.
I know of a few people that do that, man. But I can't reiterate the space enough. Like, I probably sent you pictures of my old game room, like in a house I lived in a couple of, the 2 houses back. Like, that was awesome as well. That was like a proper man cave. It was like, it was glorious. I refer to them as the glory days. I don't really have that anymore. Like, I have all those systems, but they're not out, they're not set up. Like, they're easily accessible, like, and I don't mind setting the system up. I know that's a lot of problem for people. It's like, I've got to have all these systems set up. Like, it really doesn't take me long to set up a system. My TV, have the corresponding cables, like, in the drawers, have all the games, like, labelled and set up in the same places, like, all the cables where they should be. Like,
at all, does it? I don't get this need to have 16 fucking consoles plugged into one telly all the time. I have that. It's a pain in the arse to have that many set up at once anyway.
Oh, God, tell me about it. Definitely. It's like, you have to be sensible about it. Like, and you don't want to have a bunch of stuff sitting away in a box because there's no room for it, because I've had that, and it's not nice. At the same time,
I'm going to buy a Retron 5.
Oh, God, yeah. I've seen that thing.
If you look at these kind of systems, honestly, look at stuff like the Retron 5, which is a Mega Drive, a SNES, all the imports, you know, Super Famicom, and NES.
Do you sometimes find
the fucking Game Boy games? One console, hey, to get my upscaled. Boom.
Do you sometimes find the emulation in those games to be a bit off? I mean, if you're playing for nostalgia, like I am a lot of the time, like, that's why I don't really like emulation, because it's like you get like the scan lines and everything, and the filter, like eagle and shit, and it's just like, this is just like playing like a bad Flash game, you know? It's like
you can add on scanline filtering in with the Retron 5, which I think is really fucking cool. See there, I think that's awesome. Cool. Yeah, no, you know, there is something to be said about using original hardware and all this kind of shit, but at the same time, it is your collection. You know, if you have a Retron, which I do. I want to have Mega Drive games and I want to have Master System games, but I don't want to have a Mega Drive and a Master System, or a Mega Drive with a Master System converter. Yeah. And I don't want the hassle.
It's really
I'm
cool.
a lazy person. My wife will attest to the fact that I'm a lazy person.
Oh yeah, complete slob.
Complete slob, there you go. I don't want to have to plug in 5 fucking consoles to play 5 different games.
No.
For me, it makes sense. But I get the perfection that is original hardware and putting in a cart. And, do you know, I said this on a video the other day, there's something so satisfying about carts versus CDs. Something so nice about putting a cart into a system and hearing that click.
For me, it's like kind of the historical significance of holding the thing in my hand, like the box, the cart, the CD, the system, the controller, whatever.
What's really good actually about the Retron 5 is you can use the original controllers.
Yeah.
So it's got ports for those, so that's what I think. But yeah, ultimately, guys, this, because we're about to sign out, is the main thing of it is have fun, buy bundles, keep persistent, go to car boots, work out the market value, and get trade fodder.
Hooah!
Mix those kind of things together, you'll be able to collect on the cheap.
That is one delicious drink.
Friends as well. As always, this has been the Red Sons podcast. I've been Shanktan.
I've been Brahilia, y'all.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, guys.
Peace out.